Magic Conj, will I ever get to meet Tom Kenny?
Maybe someday.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance. Okay. Should I tell fans of the show how they can support us?
Yes.
Goofy Goobers, supporting the show is shockingly easier than catching a blue jellyfish. Right from our anchor page, anchor.fm/spongepod, you can find links to all of our social media and a support button if you happen to have a few extra clams. Also follow us on twitch.tv/SpongeBobPodcast, where it's not only the official home to our sister show, Video Bob Game Pants, it's also where I stream live drawings of various Nickelodeon characters and host the opportunity for commissions and giveaways. Lastly, the official merchandise store is now open at redbubble.com/people/SpongePod, where various designs will be uploaded inspired by our show, including our official logo, which is now available on a multitude of products like t-shirts, stickers, duvet covers, and even a shower curtain. This is a podcast by a fan, for fans, and will always be fan-driven. Any way you see fit on supporting our show is much appreciated. Thank you, and enjoy. Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to another episode of I'm Ready, a SpongePod Squarecast. My name is Captain Eric, and we are continuing our sail through the first season of SpongeBob SquarePants. All right, ready, crew? Man, just an incredible amount of love and positive comments and so many just good things that have come out of last week's episode. So if you missed it, last week's episode was the launch, the start of a sponsorship of a fan project called the SpongeBob SquarePants Movie Rehydrated. It's a bunch of fans coming together, making different art and assets for a recreation of the first SpongeBob movie. So for the next year or so, I'll be interviewing a bunch of guests, people who work on the project, other fans, and last week was the start of our first episode, the first episode that I actually interviewed somebody on the project. So all of a sudden, like after one day of it being out, the numbers were just exploding on this end. And just from then, I was just hearing everything positive I could have wanted to hear about it. So for all those who turned out last week and are here this week, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. Because the best thing that'll help make this show a success is by fans sharing things around to other people, sharing the project out to other people, letting it know it exists. It'll help both projects, and by all means, like, do whatever you can. So this week we are checking out Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost, and I have on with me an animator on the project. He goes by the name Big G. So Big G and I talk about growing up with different cartoons and how he first came across SpongeBob, which, spoiler alert, is the most adorable thing I think I'll hear in the next year. So he is a true fan. He is a young animator. So I just loved being able to give him a platform to talk about what got him into the things he's into, the things he's creating, and all of the other stuff going on with the project. So I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and stay tuned. All right, so this is the first time you and I are speaking. Just like with the Gons fam last week, you never, unless I've heard your voice before in like one of the voice channels on Discord, it's always a treat for me to listen, for the first time, hearing how someone sounds. So welcome, Big G. I know you as Big G on Discord, but your name is McGill. Thank you, McGill, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Now, you were
problem.
no. You were a lot younger than I expected, but honestly, for me, it's good because I'd like to ask you a question. You said your age earlier, and I'll keep that off. But when you were born, SpongeBob was already like a massive phenomenon. Do you remember a point when you were younger where you maybe first came across SpongeBob? Did you see him maybe in products before, or did you just come across the show?
I actually have, I came out of the hospital with a SpongeBob baby onesie on.
Really?
Yeah.
How special is that? That's incredible.
Yeah, he's been a big part of my life. I've had like some like an educational game, watched them on TV back in where I was living, Boston.
Sorry, so you're from Boston.
Yeah.
Now, you said you came out of the hospital with a SpongeBob onesie. Does that mean that mom or dad were a SpongeBob fan, or did they just choose that as a decent character to include in your life?
Well, uh, personally, I don't know. I assume they just found like a cute onesie online.
I mean, I guess is the same for my parents. My mom at first she was really into Flipper as a kid, so Flipper the dolphin, definitely before your time. You probably have no idea, but there was a show on TV about a dolphin called Flipper. So there was a lot of dolphins growing up, but then my mom kind of just swept me into the Sesame Street Barney type area until I started watching Nickelodeon, which I was born in 1990, so right when I was able to start kind of watching TV around like 94 and remember I was already like right when the Nicktoons were really hitting it big. Um, which is crazy. Have you ever now beyond SpongeBob, I'm sure you've been watching for as long as you can remember. Beyond SpongeBob, have you ever checked out any of the other Nickelodeon shows that were like from the 90s, from the early 2000s?
6 or 7. My sister showed me a show called The Rugrats. I thought it was okay. My dad like showed me one episode of Ren and Stimpy on Amazon.
Oh, there you go. That's a tough show to start with sometimes, just because I've had a few guests in my home, and they know of Ren and Stimpy, but have never sat down and watched it. And it's one of those shows that it's kind of fun to put on just to see other people's reactions, because if you get a certain episode on that has a lot of gross out humor, those up close shots of like snot and farts, and you're like, hey, yeah, this is a kid's show, and you watch them go, what, really? This was on TV for children?
Yeah, it's kind of outrageous of that. Besides that, other Nicktoons that I watched a couple episodes of Rocko's Modern Life and Hey Arnold.
There you go. Those are some classics right there. That's some stuff that holds up.
Yeah, those were about all the Nicktoons that I watched.
Um, I for most people that are going to be coming on the show, I assume SpongeBob is their favorite, but it's always rude to assume. If you had to pick a favorite cartoon, show, animated show, would you pick SpongeBob, or do you have another one in mind?
Oh, I pick SpongeBob like 100%. My number 2 pick for second favorite animated show is The Amazing World of Gumball.
Man, see, all right. Well, I've not had cable in my home for a couple of years now, just running internet and streaming services. And when I did have cable before I moved out of my parents' house, that's right when Gumball kind of started, and I thought it was good. It definitely had a lot of humor. It had a very unique style, but I definitely feel like I missed out on it because right when I moved out, that was one of the shows I didn't keep up with. I think the only animated show that was still fresh on television that I was constantly watching was Regular Show.
Oh yeah, in the later seasons, it got way more meta. That's probably why people like it so much and it's devoted such a fan base.
Yeah, the reason I fell in love with that show in particular was, and you already brought up Rocco. The one thing I love about Rocco is its adult humor. It's the jokes. There's probably jokes in there you have no idea of. Just from the fact that, like, not watching the whole show, but there was so many that they had to sneak by, and they were very creative. And I felt when I was watching Regular Show when it first debuted, it felt very adult, but also childish in tone. Like they were able to slide in a lot of adult humor, and that was something I really appreciated.
Yeah, I think that was like the Renaissance era of Cartoon Network. Everybody liked the shows because, it got a little bit more darker, mature, TV PG rating.
Yeah, they've certainly. I mean, I wasn't watching, but at least I can say with Adventure Time, regular show, Gumball, um, Craig at the Creek, I know is a big one that people like now, and trying to think of another Cartoon Network show that's big right now. Oh, Steven Universe, of course. All these shows really were hitting them out of the park. Where Nickelodeon, I don't think has had a. I know the Loud House is big, but it just feels like they haven't really had any other big hits in a while. Which I don't
I
even
mean,
watch the Loud House at all.
most of the reason they don't have big hits is because they keep on moving the newer shows to the Nicktoons channel once they become popular because one episode or several episodes had like under 1 million viewers.
Now, is that something? Because I've noticed that too. Is that something that you realized on your own, or did you read that online?
Uh, I watched Veilskibum 94's videos.
Oh, look at this! Another Vale Ski Bum fan. I just talked about him, how he helped bring me to the project, which is a really interesting segue here because now we're on to the project here, the SpongeBob movie Rehydrated. How did you become involved with this project? Because you are an animator on this, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call like Minecraft scenes like animation, like drawing, but
Well,
it's different formats.
it's not a it's I wouldn't say it's traditional in the sense, but it's still, it's bringing up, something to life. You are still creating something, and so yeah, I was going to bring that up, that the at least the scene you shared with me, it is based in Minecraft. Is that something you've been doing for a while?
No, I think it was just for this project. I asked my friend, "Hey, can you film this for me? Because my computer, it's not that good, and I don't have an editing software." So yeah, he filmed it for me. We did one take, and then someone got me an editing software, so I edited it. And how I came to the project is a little bit like yours. I came here from Veilskibum 94 as well.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, you saw that video and it had all the Discord and all the information. When you first joined, because I'm just guessing you joined the Discord first, correct?
Yeah.
Did you, at that moment, you're in the Discord, did you know where to go? Did you have an idea, like, I want to help animate a part of the movie, and did you just head over to that section, or did it take a little bit?
So I clicked on the Discord, and first of all, I read the rules and the collaboration info,
Very
went
good.
through all the channels, see where everything is. Then I asked an admin if I could have a scene, and they said yes. Keep in mind, at this time I was 12, and I did not know Discord had a 13 and up rule.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I didn't even know that myself.
Yeah, so that at that point, my scene had already gone through. Then I was like, so then it came up in a conversation like, "How old are you?" Well, I can't tell. I'm not going to tell a lie, so I told them I was 12. They kicked me out of the server, but they kept my scene. They said, "Hey, you can join back when you're 13." Turned 13, June 20th, back in the server. Things are going good.
Well, happy birthday. Welcome, Mr. Teenager here. Um, when you signed up, did they give you what scene to do? They were like, "Hey, do," and we don't want to spoil it for anybody. But did they hand you that scene that you showed me? Was that something, or did you request that?
Oh, I requested that. I just went onto the Google document, started downloading a bunch of scenes, looking at them, and see. You know what's an influential scene? That Hasselhoff scene. It's a great part of the movie. Has some comic relief that people like. So yeah, I think I'll do that.
It is, and that's the wonderful thing about this project is when you get so many creative people involved. who are going to come up with their own ideas. You know, there are hosts for this project, but none of them are telling anyone, hey, you should do this animation style, you should do this. So the fact that at some point in this movie there's going to be some Minecraft was super fun to me, because I love Minecraft animation. I've seen a few of them. Who doesn't really love Minecraft? I feel like the only people who don't like Minecraft haven't really played it and got into it. But it's such an interesting style, and I personally love it. So I'm so glad that you were able to help bring that into the project.
Yeah, another reason I only came to the collaboration is when I was like, oh, cool, it's a reanimated collab like Shrek Retold. But then Valesky even showed a poster that showed a bunch of different animation styles, and like, I could do this.
See, there you go. It starts somewhere. And you don't even
Yeah.
necessarily, because you had mentioned this is the first time you even really edited something, correct? Like anything video-wise?
Yes, because one of the admins gave me the editing software, specifically Katsubi. So thanks, Katsubi.
Oh, there you go. And of course, I mean, editing is always very. I've edited so many projects, video projects from high school, college. I used to use Pinnacle and then iMovie, and then just fell in love with Final Cut. Did you find it? I mean, this is your first time editing something. Did you find it enjoyable? Did you enjoy that part of the process, like at all?
Well, it was okay. The editing software, it was like a really good top tier editing software, and I still have it, but it kept crashing every 10 minutes, meaning when I wanted to do the scene, that was already 8 hours ago before I submitted the scene. I worked on the scene for 8 hours.
Oh my goodness, it took you that long. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I don't I couldn't imagine. I mean, when I joined, I love animation, and I would love to have a scene, but um, even doing something in Minecraft would be one of those moments that I would need to take 5 minutes to go like, how am I even going to do this? So it's really impressive that you were able to get that done. You're able to do it, even if it seemed maybe easier for you. I'm just like, I'm very impressed by it. So, by all means, I mean, keep that up. Is that something, Minecraft animations? Is that something you would like to keep doing? Do you see yourself kind of keep doing that, or is this just it?
Well, it's kind of a one-time thing because, my friend, I don't know like his schedule, and uh I need to think up like some really creative ideas like movie scenes in Minecraft that could be done, but those camera shots.
Yeah, getting those specific camera shots, because the one you have that shot perfect, almost one to one is what I, right from the movie. Um, so I mean, shout out to your friend though for helping you out there. Because literally, I look. There's so many projects of mine. This is the only one. This podcast is the only one I've done completely just on my own. I've had some help here and there as far as ideas and whatnot, but just from the day-to-day stuff. But every other project before this has always been two or three hands on it, friends-wise, people I trusted. They're always good to have, especially in a creative sense, because a good friend will always be there for you to help out.
Yeah, so I thought I was like the only person who made a Minecraft scene, but the same day someone else posted a Minecraft scene, and I'd like to shout out MK Panda from the Rehydrated Discord. He posted a scene with like nine players with like two perfect camera shots and a really good build. So
Uh,
it seems like that would have taken like 16 hours.
awesome. Well, I honestly can't wait to see that too. Um, of course, helping a friend is it's trust me, none of these segues were planned. They just happen to be perfect. I don't act like I always pull the curtain back anytime I can. But helping a friend is a very good kind of emphasis of this episode that we're going to watch today, which is Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost. This episode, season 1 episode, the second part of episode 11, first premiered October 2nd, 1999. Definitely a while before you were born. Did you ever catch this episode on television or any of the other season 1 episodes?
This episode, I might have watched it on Showbox when that was a thing, or TV, because Nickelodeon in their episode schedule, a rare episode you can find is like The Paper and Valentine's Day. That doesn't happen
Very
like
often. No.
Yeah,
no.
they mostly show season 6, maybe some season 5s or 4s or 3s. You know, if the schedule is good. Because I've seen like one episode like multiple times with this very long intro. I can't remember the name. No, it was the Krusty Sponge. That I've seen that multiple times.
Well, you think with the amount of times they air SpongeBob in a day on Nickelodeon, they would probably be able to cycle through a few seasons in like 2 or 3 days.
Well, they were planning to do that with the all-day marathon, but the marathon fell short, so they canceled it.
I wish at least once a year they would do that. I always love those kind of events where they always go nonstop, 24 hours. The first time I know they did it is when they first premiered The Best Day Ever. They had a full like I think it was like 26-hour marathon of SpongeBob episodes, and it wasn't all of them. It was like a countdown, I think, of the top 100. And then it all culminated with The Best Day Ever, and then they aired the first movie for, I think, the first time on television. And that was a really fun event. I mean, even though most of those episodes I saw, it was kind of fun to stay up late and, be watching SpongeBob at 3 a.m. Even though I have the DVDs and could do that at the time, it was still, I don't know, the fact that it's on television at like 3 a.m. was always kind of fun.
Yeah.
All right, so the episode today, one of the biggest things about this is that we actually have the debut of the Flying Dutchman. He is obviously not in person. We actually just see pictures of him based off of SpongeBob's comic. But he has always been one of my favorite characters of the show, so I completely had forgot that when I went and looked it up. I was like, oh my god, Flying Dutchman is in this episode for the first time, so that's a big moment. So before we start the episode, we're going to take a bit of a break, and then we'll be right back.
2,000 years later.
And we're back. All right. So we have the episode Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost at the ready. Just to re-clarify, this episode debuted all the way back on October 2nd, 1999. It was written by Sherm Cohen, Aaron Singer, and Peter Burns, with Aaron Springer, Sherm doing the storyboard artist. He was the artist for the storyboard. The storyboard was done by Sherm Cohen. The animation was done by Fred Miller. And, of course, Derek Dryman, our good pal there, was on the creative end. So if everybody wants to watch along with us, by all means, we have we're both of us have Amazon Prime, luckily, so we have access to it. And if you want to play it now, all right, this is interesting. This is the actual first episode of the show to include Squidward in the title. It was actually the first time it was named for him. And of course, the entire show opens up here with Squidward working with clay of some sort. Have you ever used clay in school? Have they ever introduced that in any sort of art classes for you?
Well, I've molded clay. My dad has some architecture clay, so yeah.
Oh, so you've been around it. I've always enjoyed making things out of clay, but it's something that I'd like to be better at someday, especially on that level of Squidward, making a life-size recreation of himself in clay. So SpongeBob there saying G7. a C minor seventh chord is actually played on a ukulele right when he says that. So it was actually a little interesting musical joke for those music aficionados out there.
Oh yeah, I like this gag, Patrick and the watch.
Having a watch and then dumping out the bubble soap. Now clearly the game that SpongeBob and Patrick there were playing was something just completely weird and created. Do you ever remember a time playing with friends, either at school or outside of school, where you just created your own game that just maybe didn't even make sense?
No.
Oh man, I don't know. I have a few vague memories of a few like outside in the woods games of you'd almost take like variations of other games, like it's hide and seek, but it's also capture the flag at the same time, and you throw in like 2 or 3 other rules, and then it's its own thing. You play it once or twice, and then that's it. It just loses itself in time.
Kind of like chess boxing.
Oh, absolutely. This is interesting because we did have a previous episode, Naughty Nautical Neighbors, in which Patrick gives Squidward CPR. So it's a nice, interesting callback a few episodes later where Patrick remembers, oh, I know what to do here. I know how to save his life. But of course, it's a giant clay statue that then proceeds to melt in the sun, which is just incredible, and how fast you'd think Squidward would be working with something a little bit more stronger.
Yeah, then Patrick goes brain dead for a bit.
Man, I mean, just the idea. This is one of my favorite season 1 episodes because I feel like just the writers, whoever came up with this initial idea of SpongeBob and Patrick accidentally thinking they accidentally harmed Squidward and then having to deal with his ghost is so creative. It's something that I feel like that kind of creativity was really present throughout the next 2 seasons, but in season 1, this was a really kind of out there episode.
Yeah.
Have you watched a lot? I mean, so I mentioned if you had seen this episode before on TV or anything, but have you seen a lot of the first season of SpongeBob where things were kind of slowed down a little bit more story oriented instead of just gags?
I've actually watched every single episode of the show.
Oh, you have? All right. Hey, look, you've watched more than I have, because even though I've been a fan for 20 years, there was a lot of episodes I missed out on of later seasons.
Yeah.
I'd hear about the bad ones, like the Splinter, and then I'd watch it and go, okay, this is what they're currently doing? This is not fun. And then it would make me not want to watch them.
Yeah, so far the modern seasons, they're getting better.
Yeah, certainly. Once I heard that they got Steven Hillenburg back for the second movie, and that he was going to come back to the show in some capacity, I started getting a little bit more hopeful that maybe that initial charm that was present for these first 3 seasons would come back. And I've heard good things. I'm just waiting to watch those episodes for this show, essentially. Like I don't want to have to go watch all these episodes and then rewatch them again. I'd kind of like to get my first impressions on the podcast, which would be a bit important. So we have a bit of an art joke here, and this may sound boring for you. I had to look all this up. Here we go. We have the fish painting, Toulouse-Lautrec. If you don't get that joke, there's a famous poster that was made for a stage show, basically, of can dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was from Mademoiselle Agalante's group, her troupe there. So they went to this famous artist his name is Henry de Toulouse-Lautrec, to paint this poster to advertise for this stage show, essentially. So that's they were referencing his name. Yeah, so they were referencing to his last name is Toulouse-Lautrec, so Toulouse-Lautrec right there, and the fish heads replaced the human heads of his painting there. But it was interesting to go down. I mean, as a kid, I recognized the painting because the art teachers I grew up with were very much into like they showed a lot of art history, so I had seen that poster, but never knew the reference or anything until honestly researching this episode. I was like, all right, hey, I'll go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, right here I think Squidward gets like a little too. Advantage. He's in advantage, like taking advantage of SpongeBob right now.
Yeah, yeah. And the one thing that always bothered me is SpongeBob not being able to play music with the tissue paper. But then later
he did it in the paper.
And yeah, he does it in the paper. He plays beautiful music with a piece of paper. But I guess when someone else, it's only when he really wants to do it is he able to do it.
Yeah.
What's interesting, this episode was briefly seen in the 2019 remake of Pet Sematary, which is the scene they use. The part is when he gets out of the shower and he finds his wax sculpture deformed. That's what he was using, wax, not clay. Yeah, so wax, it completely makes sense on not wanting to work with that in heat because it will melt. Clancy Brown, though, who voices Mr. Krabs, was actually an actor in the original Pet Sematary 2 as the sheriff. So I thought that was kind of funny, a little kind of going full circle there.
Yeah, this wallpaper. That's good.
It's one of my favorite gags of the entire series is ripping off the wallpaper. And here we have our debut of the Flying Dutchman. And as far as I know, it's completely canon as to that's what happened to his body, is that it's still sitting in the window storefront being used to advertise clothing. As far as I know, in future episodes, they've never gotten to that gag, but man, I'm waiting for an episode where they actually pass by a clothing store and just his body is just standing there.
Yeah. And here we have SpongeBob and Patrick trying to put Squidward to rest.
Yeah,
because he thinks she's like a spiteful ghost.
Yeah, that he doesn't want to go, which is what a lot of people feel like ghosts are, I guess. And we don't have an answer because I've seen enough videos to assume that there is paranormal activity that exists in our world, but it's very hard. I mean, very hard. It's almost impossible to know what designates one person to staying in an area and kind of going through the motions. And there's a lot of weird questions when it comes to ghosts, but I wonder if that is a thing where if somebody just is so angry and they just don't want to move on, their spirit stays on this earth. I don't know.
Here we have the jaw-dropping moment where SpongeBob finds out he's bald.
And that SpongeBob starts a lifelong mission to point out everybody who's bald. Of course, then ending up all the way with Mr. King Neptune there. And yeah. I don't know, it's one of those things that I'd like to ask SpongeBob before that moment. Like, did you think Squidward had hair? Or did you just not know what bald was until he took off a hat?
Well, he's bald and Patrick's bald, so...
Well, and of course we got a nice little cameo there by Mr. Krabs and Sandy, the part of the mourners coming to send off Squidward.
Yeah.
Super weird that they dug his grave right in the front yard. You would think they would do that in the backyard at least.
Yeah, because that's some various... Oh, yes, this was the... either the first or second, I think it was the second wipe transition in the whole series.
Oh, that's interesting. Definitely something they don't use that often, but it's always one of those techniques I like to see.
Yeah, the only reason they use that, I don't know why they use that.
Well, it's one of those techniques that in editing, when you have to go from one scene to another, it's just always there. Like, hey, do you want to use this or not? And of course, we see Squidward right going outside of Bikini Atoll, and then he's in a better place. He's being this might have been the first time they used a live action scene in the show like that, like footage of seagulls. But
Yeah, maybe.
I always loved when they do animation changes like that. It's always fun. So that was Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost, a very creative episode of SpongeBob. One of my favorites of season 1. Probably would make the top 5. I love the gags in the episode. I love just the misunderstanding. And even when Squidward comes out and announces, "Hey, I was lying to you," SpongeBob and Patrick don't run with that. They don't go, "Okay, fine." They just still continue thinking, "Oh man, he's just an angry ghost."
Yeah, I correct myself on this one. It was actually the first wipe transition. The next one was in episode 13. I was a teenage Gary.
There we go. Hey, it's no problem. I always appreciate someone who's willing to correct themselves, because I do the same. What did you think about the episode? Do you necessarily like this one? Do you love it? Is it one of your favorites of the first season?
No, I say it's a good episode for season 1, but my favorite episode of the entire series has to be the snowball effect.
That I would not say you're wrong on that. That's got to be another big one there. So yeah, the one thing I do want to mention, just because I didn't last time, is if you want to follow any of the updates or anything for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie Rehydrated, please head over to their Twitter account. It's at SB Rehydrated. That's where you're going to find out any of the updates, any of the information having to do with the collab moving forward. I am super excited to see more of the progress on this project. And I cannot wait to see the final project, and especially your scene. Definitely one of the better ones I've seen so far. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
No problem.
And by all means, please keep up the good work. Stay creative. Stay busy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.